pretty good. And Meatball City, little tip of the hat to Molly out in France. She's a big Meatball City fan, and Joe Filomeno making highlight reel catches and infield practice. So March off to a good start this year. They're revamped, picked up a lot of new faces, and they have been off to just a really nice competitive start. So we thought we'd give you a little preview of them. And again, for those of you tuning in, this is Chicago style 16-inch softball. You're seeing it correct. No glove. 60-foot bases. Leadoff can't steal. 38 feet from the pitching rubber to the point of home plate. 6'12" on the arc. Here's the leadoff man, Morris Greco. And because we're playing no glove, you get the drag step. One step right, left, or back. Two fakes or hesitation. Third arm action must be to deliver the ball home. A throw or a fake to a base is one of your fakes or hesitation. Open count, 6'12" arc. And there's a swing and a foul ball. And of course, with two strikes, you got to keep it fair. We use heavy bats. They can weigh up to 38 ounces. 34 inches long, 2 1/4 on the barrel. And this is a 16-inch clincher. It is not a mush ball. So here's Morris Greco's. We're going to tee this up again. And Morris tries to cut that left field line. He dumps it fair. He's going to try it for two, and he'll make it easily. Morris, an outfielder by trade. So he had no problems. Cut the line beautifully there. So March puts their leadoff man on here. We're in the top of the first, just underway. And here's Tommy Lentine Jr. with Ben Detzmer on deck. So March retooled after last year. They picked up a couple of former ball buster guys. And they've been off to a good start. They've been very competitive, and they got a few scalps on the wall, as they say. Tommy, of course, a lot of years playing for Impact with his dad, Tom Sr. And in an unusual move, I don't see his better half here today. But Mama Lentine, you can't see her face. She's in the witness protection program watching the game over there. And Tommy swings and he dumps a hit into center field. Greco's going to score 1-0 March. So Tommy got a ball up and just kind of guided it into center field. Brings up Ben Detzmer. On deck, Zach Solario, who played a little bit with Traffic and Nicky Gatta. And then we get to Nick Burt, the first baseman who was on that ballbuster team. I think it was the ballbusters. So here's Ben. So we got a busy week. You might want to check out the post. High pop-up. Coming in as the center fielder, and he's going to make that play. Routine fly ball for out number one. Ian Holst. So we had a busy weekend at the North-South. If you haven't had a chance, we pinned the championship and the IF game to the top of our page, as we like to call them, instant classics. And they were fantastic ball games. The IF game went 10 innings. So check them out if you get the chance. And here's Zach Solario. So we got a lot of stuff going on. There's a swing. He tries to dump it. Jake Majerus, a little juggling act, throw to first in time. Tommy Lentine got caught in no man's land. He was breaking. It looked like it may drop. Jake Majerus got a hand on it but started bobbling it. And Tommy was going back and forth between the base, didn't know whether to go back or go to second. And he ended up getting doubled up. So at the end of a half an inning, March takes an early lead, 1-0. Meatball City coming up. So I'm just curious, folks. I know Amalia from France was complaining she wasn't getting notifications. I tried to fool around with a couple of settings. So I'm not sure if it sent a notification out when we were going live or not today. So if anybody got that notification on Facebook, chime in and let me know if you saw that or not. So leading off, it's going to be Mike Marola, then Pops Alejandro, and Mike Wiz. And we got a lot of stuff going on. Of course, the Midsummer Classic will be next week, right here in Bulger Park, in Melrose Park. We're doing the draw for that this coming Saturday at McGaffers at 4 o'clock, and Mike flares one foul. And then, of course, the week after the Midsummer is the SSA Tom Egg-Zarnik Class A glove. National Championship Tournament. That's going to be back at Olympic Park up in Schaumburg. So we'll probably be doing the draw for that. I would think probably. There's a high fly ball by Mike. Tried to beat the left fielder. Greco's there and makes the catch.
Go, Bob!
So he flies out here in the bottom of the first. So that'll be back up in Schaumburg. Beautiful facility. Everybody seemed to enjoy it. Brings up Pops Alejandro. And there's he slashes it, dropped by the third baseman. He recovers in time for the out. So the third baseman over there, Ziggy Kirkyaka, we're just going to call him Ziggy. He stayed with it and made the play. And that's going to bring up Mike Wiz, the shortstop. Mike Wiz, Mickey's on deck.
Go, Mike, wide!
Mike off to a terrific start this year. And he flares that out of play to the right side. So we saw some good performances this past weekend. We'll be doing the Chicago Summer Series wrap-up show tomorrow live. And Jerry Brown and myself will be out there doing the show. And it should be fun. We'll have the new statistic leaders and team standings. There's a little flare. Nick can't get to it out of play. So we'll reset. Of course, Mike off to a really good start this year. And Meatball City, you can't sleep on this group. They're highly competitive. They will fight you. And like I said, March, a little short-handed. They only got 10 today, but we'll see how it works out for them. And there's a swing and a base hit. So he'll stop here at first. 2-out base runner. Brings up his brother, Nick.
Go, Wise!
And there's a fly ball to right. Camped under it is Ben Detzmer. And he makes the catch. So at the end of one complete, 1-0. We are live from Bulger Park out in Melrose Park, Illinois. Veterans Park District. The Midsummer should be good. They'll be selling alcohol. They got Joey Casa, More Than Dogs, will be out here along with Manny Sanchez handling the food. And I know everybody had a good time last year. This is a nice park because there's a lot of shade. People tend to bring their tents out and camp out. We are in the middle of a residential neighborhood. And here comes Nick Burt. And Nick's got a lot of pop. Unlike the weekend, very calm night here, not a lot of breeze. Good night to hit. Yeah, close, Billy. But I could tell that was a case where you're short and it helps you. Because I could tell that ball was going to be a good 5 feet over my head. And there's a swing the opposite way, and he dumps it in front of the left fielder. Lead-off single for Burt. And that's the second inning in a row. I believe that March has put their leadoff man on. And that brings up Paulie Palkey, the short center.
They have so much talent.
So a lot of stuff going on. We'll be at Harrison Park for the annual Harrison Park tournament. I think we're going to show a good one Friday between Fat Kids and Hardway. That should be a good one. And in that tournament, you can have 2 major players. So it should be a lot of fun. We'll be back out there Saturday. And there's a line drive base hit. So Paulie Palkey gets a hit. Burt will stop at second.
Here we go.
Brings up Tommy Lentine. Of course, Tommy's son, Tommy Jr. on this team. Chris Lentine plays with the 45s, and the patriarch, Frank Sr., also played softball, so we got second and third generation legacy. And there's a base hit by Tommy Lentine. Burt scores. Palkey stops at second, and we got a 2-0 score here.
Same, Miller. Let's go.
So here's Chris Miller. Chris has the distinction of having won back-to-back MVPs at the 50 and over with 2 different teams. That pitch a little high and deep. And he swings, tries to go big to the gap, and Greco can't get there. 1 run is in. Tommy Lentine chugging around third. He's going to score. Chris Miller underneath the tag.
Hey, way to slide.
The ball took a bounce. And the third baseman, Nick Wiz, had to raise his hands, and that allowed Miller to slide underneath. But 2 more runs score, and March leads at 4-0. I was kidding some of the March guys, and they're going right to the whip here. As they take Mike Marola out. And they bring in John Doss to pitch. 4-0. March off to a fast start. Mike does stay in the game as John Doss was catching, so they just flip-flop. So here's Reese Miles. I don't know, is it Reese Miles or Miles Reese, but he swings, he goes big to center, Holst tracks it down, but that's going to allow the courtesy runner to score 5-0 March. So March off to a fast start. We're only in the top of the second. Now, Meatball City does have a pretty decent offense, so we'll see if they make a push here.
Started up again.
And here's the third baseman, Ziggy. And March has done a good job. They're just kind of flipping it over to the infield and finding some holes. And there's a line drive and another hole.
Nothing.
As Reese hits a perfect line drive between the short center and the third baseman.
Thank you. I'm in the hole.
Yeah, we see a lot of that now. Guys in their 50s still playing basically major ball. 30 years ago, you didn't see that because there were a lot more younger players coming up every year. And when you got close to 40, you were pretty much pushed out of the game. But today, and we're trying to bring that back with the SSA, I think we're going to get there again. We're going to have a lot more younger kids playing. Because you're seeing more and more kids out in Washington Park playing. Over on the west side, we have a lot of Latino teams and players filtering in. So we'll get there. And of course, courtesy of the live streams, we got a lot of people. Greco, his second hit. Holtz gets there but falls down. Reason's going to score. And Morris Greco has a triple and a double halfway to the cycle as he drives in a run. 6-0 March. And it brings up Chris Lentine. Meatball City looks like they pretty much have their whole team here. I don't know who they might be missing. But they're down 6. They've only hit once in the game. And Tommy Lentine goes up the middle for the second time. And that's going to score Greco. Marola couldn't hold on. I think he'd have been out, but good hard slide. Lentine takes second. 7-0. So Mike Marola, he's pitched, he's played a little infield, came up as a center fielder. He's got good hands, but Morris Greco did what you're supposed to. He slid feet first hard and Ben Detzmer up. Still only one out in this inning. And Meatball City just trying to put a tourniquet on the bleeding, and that's off of Doss, and it rolls into short center, and now they throw home, and Detzmer will go to second. And that's my pet peeve. Don't give up real estate. Lentine had shut it down. Just needed to flip that ball into the short center. Instead, he threw a rocket home, and Detzmer just easily jogged into second. So here's Zach Solario. Base hit could put 2 more on the board. So crazy weekend. We're going to have a lot of fun breaking that down tomorrow. So tune in. We're hoping to get on the air by right around 7. And there's a walk. It's that pitch a little heavy, and it brings up Nick.
Hey, you got one.
Now Nick's got a lot of pop. Jake Mazera's playing him deep. Let's see if he tries to really muscle up here and pound a gap. The only good thing about that walk is it does give you a double play possibility.
Don't worry about it. Let's go. Make a play. I think you do. Base hit.
And these infields got a little dust on them. I'm sure my guy Richie is going to dump a lot of water on this by the time we get to the midsummer. And there's a sky-high fly ball. Ian Holst is there, makes the catch. The lefty throws it in. And again, high throw and out at the plate. Unconventional double play. Gets him out of the inning. One run did score on that. Detzmer out trying to take 2 bases. The throw had a little air under it. Pops Alejandro at playing short center made the throw home right on the money. And Mike Marola playing possum was acting like no throw was coming and then slapped a quick tag on him. So we're in high gear. 2 major events this summer, 2 different winners. Congratulations to the 45s. I think during the broadcast I was saying 3-peat. It was actually a repeat. 3 years ago at that tournament, Flashback and Signature were supposed to play the championship game because of rain, and it never got rescheduled, so I kind of had that kind of blanked out of my memory a little bit. So here's Jose Godinez. And Jose is one of the power bats they have in the middle of their lineup. And there's a slash foul. Of course, Jose had a cup of coffee with Flashback, then played on that YTD team that won the Class B and Class A SSA National Championship tournaments, and came over to Meatball City, I want to say 2 years ago. So if you're Meatball City, you got a little work to do. It's only the bottom of the second, but they need to kind of stem this momentum, put something up. And Jose didn't mean to do it, but he gets on. So it looked like a routine play. Jose, though, hustling. Tommy's ball looked like a little bit of a screwball, drifted into the baseline. First baseman can't handle it. And here's John Doss. He flips it to a gap. Jose will get to third, and they'll just throw it in here. So first 2 runners on here for Meatball City, and it brings up Joe Filomeno. With Jack Harrigan on deck. And Joe's capable of driving the ball a little bit, and I'm sure Meatball would love to put a couple of runs on the board here with maybe a double. There's a bullet caught, and that's going to be a double play. So John Doss was basically running on the swing. He was about 2 feet from second when that line drive got caught. And when you're chasing 8, that's rough. It was a good job there by the short center, Paulie, with the runner kind of bearing down on him. And here's Harrington, and he's going to line out right to the left fielder. So after putting their first 2 base runners on, line drive double play erases the inning, basically. And we'll head to the top of the third, 8-0. And that will drive you crazy as a manager when there's a low line drive like that, and you get a base runner who gets picked off. Now, I don't know if they had a play on or not, but with Joe up, you really wouldn't want to do that. You want him up there down 8 free swinging, so. So here's the short center leading off, Paulie Palkey, Tomlin Teen Sr., and then Chris Miller. So I'd like to thank Danny Atkins for putting on another terrific tournament. And there he walks the dog down the right field line for a base hit. So Paulie got a pitch, and that's how you do it, kids. Pitch was up maybe shoulder, armpit high. He just laid the barrel level to the ground and just guided it down that line. Talk all the time. Sometimes if that bat gets perpendicular to the ground, in other words, when the barrel is pointed straight down, you get crazy spin, but that ball stayed straight as an arrow because the barrel was level. Turned his upper body a little bit, so there was no inside out on it. Tom Lentine, it goes hard. Greco can't get to it. It rolls into the gap. Holst had a little trouble. That's going to score Paulie all the way from first. And March has just been relentless in this ball game. Brings up Chris Miller. Tommy Lentine's been cutting right and center, right center and left center field for a long time. That time he muscled up. They were cheating him a little bit, and he muscled up and hit a little harder. I was talking to Chris Miller before the game. He's like, good luck sliding on this stuff. And there's a little flip job. No tag. And he was like, I'm not sliding on it. Of course, he slid into third earlier. I'd like to welcome Ray. I saw Ray, you were watching over the weekend from Modesto, California. So here's Rees Miles with Ziggy on deck. And there's a line drive knocked down by Doss, and Wiz can't pick it up. So nothing really going Meatball City's way right now. One out here. Meatball City needs something good to happen to try to snap them out of this malaise. Double plays can sometimes do that for you. JD gave him the fake and was looking at third when he threw that ball. Trying to get the hitter to think he was going to fake again. High pop-up. Shortstop Mike Wiz makes the play for out number 2. And it brings up Greco, triple and double in the game already. He'd probably like to get the home run and then save the single to get the cycle. There's a little chopper, and JD read that all the way. Cut it off. They do push another across. We'll go to the bottom of the third. March leading 9-0. So there is a long way to go in the game, except when you consider we do play a 10-run mercy rule. And so if you're Meatball City, you'd like to edge this thing a little further away from that 10 mark. Because March looks hitterish today. And I was telling some of their guys, they were like, oh, we're only going to have 10 today. But sometimes the right 10 is okay. And a lot of guys like it when you got 10 guys in the lineup because you spin it faster. And they know they're not getting subbed out. So a lot of guys, when you got 10, just seem to be much more relaxed. So Jake Majerus, Jake Caballero, and Ian Holst for Meatball City here, bottom third of the lineup. And Jake hits a topper. Tommy Lentine snags it. And I do got to say it. Tommy Lentine played on Mudville. Somebody was kidding me over the weekend. Every time I mention Mudville, it should be a drinking game. I chuckled at that. And Jake swings a little too fat. Detzmer cruises over, puts it away for out number 2. So Chucks from Iowa will be back in town. They got beat up a little physically. Matt Schrage, the shortstop, pulled his hamstring. And the next half inning, their second baseman jumping up for a line drive, landed, tore his Achilles heel. That would be Kyle Simpson. There's a sky-high pop-up. Very, very quick 1-2-3 inning. We'll head to the top of the 4th, 9-0. Schrage thinks he'll be back for midsummer. And obviously you tear an Achilles, that's going to, be 7 or 8 months, maybe a little longer in terms of rehab. We saw Anthony Sanchez during the championship games dislocate a shoulder. Anthony, tough as nails, ended up, he had a hard time popping it back in. I talked to him last night out in Forest Park.
I got you.
And they're all looking at me like, why I didn't get that? I have 62. Anyways, so he was in good spirits. He said he was so amped up and he was so tense that they couldn't get it at first to slide back in. But he eventually got it to slide back in. He told me it's not the first time. And he did return and play. So, tough kid. And the name escapes me, but somebody told me that another player broke his collarbone diving for a fly ball. So, rough weekend for a lot of guys up there in Schaumburg. So, and it's kind of unusual. There's a ground ball in Tommy Lentine's third hit of the ball game as he rolls it past Jack Harrigan for a base hit. And the weird thing is it was a nice playing surface and a nice outfield surface. So you just never know. So here's Ben Detzmer. And Ben hits a ground ball and Doss can't field it. I don't know if they would have got a double play. It wasn't hit that hard. They certainly would have had a shot at going to second. And Meatball City right now just a little lethargic, offensively and defensively. We're not used to seeing this group flat like this, but it happens. There's Pops. He tags, throws. So they call the double play. You can rewind the tape. I think Pops may have gotten away with a phantom tag there.
You were definitely safe.
Ben did the right thing. He did not make it easy on Pops. Pops knew right away he was going to have to hurry, so he was kind of on a dead sprint. I think if I was Ben there, I would have taken a step up and created a little contact on the tag. Not violent contact, but he was retreating. Then he tried to do that jump away thing. I think when you get to that point, you just stop and take a step forward and make that fielder run into you. It's like setting a pick in the NBA. You can't really do any excessive movement toward that fielder, but if you just stop and take a step back and his momentum carries you in, you'll be okay there.
Respectfully, I disagree.
And I got to tell you, if we put a cowboy hat on this Joe Filomeno, he'd look just like Rip from Yellowstone.
don't think I've seen that.
Celebrity lookalike.
Come on, Paulie.
So here's Paulie now. 2 out runners on the corners.
Continue, Paul.
And there's, 9-0 doesn't feel good, but 10 or 11-0 feels worse. And there's a little chopper, and they're going to get out. First goose egg of the game for Meatball City. And we're going to head to the bottom of the 4th, and they got a little work to do, and they need to get started. Again, we are live. And the live stream is powered by our good friends at Gold Rush Gaming.
Got top.
And it's going to be the top of the lineup in Mike Marola. Put that graphic up for you real quick. Pretty nice. Well, don't have time now, but we'll put it up a little later. And that pitch is side. So you're down 9, but you got your top up here in the bottom of the 4th. There's a reason they're up there, and you hope they produce this inning. Put a crooked number up there and get yourself excited. High, towering fly ball. Morris Greco is there. And, March has done a good job. They're not hitting lazy fly balls. They've caught some breaks on some ground balls, some deflections, and they're hitting a lot of humpbacks. And Meatball right now, a few too many fly balls, making it a little too easy. And, sometimes as a manager, you just implore your group to get back to doing what they normally do. And as a manager, you can't explain it. Sometimes your team just comes out and they vapor lock on you. And there's a little chop, and Morris Greco is there. I had the pleasure of managing that flashback team, and that team could probably hit with anybody in the history of the game. But every once in a while, they would have a game like that, and I would tell them, hey, we got to stay out of the air. And I was not a yeller or a screamer, but they knew when I was upset because I would lean up against the backstop and not talk to anybody after it continued. And it just happens, man, and you can't explain it. And you just don't know. So here's Mike Wiz, 2 outs, nobody on. He tries to go the other way. Flares that out of play. So I'd like to give a shout out to Goodwood. They had a terrific weekend. I know a lot of people are going to say they were in a soft part of the bracket, but that's still a tremendous accomplishment what they did. And they looked very good. They beat Chucks. So that's no small task. Chucks won their first game and then lost their second game to Goodwood on Friday. And talking to a couple of the Chucks guys. And there's a hard ground ball, and Tommy Lentine can't handle it. And that's why I was saying Meatball City making a little too easy with the fly balls. They're not making March work at all. And they'd be well served to keep it out of the air. So a couple of the Chuck's guys came up to me after their loss, and they're like, man, that was rough. They're like, we didn't know nothing about this team, where they went, where they hit, and there's a high fly ball, and Detzmer puts it away for out number 3. So we head to the top of the 5th, 9-0. It's been all March. And the Chuck's guys were like, it was like they had a scouting report. And I said, dude, I did 2-year games in Iowa. I said, they were probably watching. So SSA Broadcast giving you guys free scouting reports and looks at teams you might be playing. All the more reason to follow our page and watch the live streams.
Yeah, it's usually calm.
So I was chuckling over that a little bit. And of course that Goodwood team, Steve Burke doing a good job with them. And they got a very feisty pitcher in Hector Melendez. So it's going to be Tommy Lentine Sr., Chris Miller, and then Rees. So again, should March push a couple across and get to that 10 barrier and get an egg in the bottom half, this game would be over. And Tommy Lentine, a soft cut to left. So Tommy's first 2 times up, he went to left center. Second time, he hit the ball harder to the gap. He kind of had pulled the left fielder off the line a little bit, Jake Caballero. And that time he crossed the defense up, just threw a little cutout and down the left field line. And there's a little cut shot base hit. So nobody out. The 2 geriatrics get on. Chris Miller laughing about that. And I'm not sure they're picking up anything speed-wise with this transition.
We're just saving me. That's
So we're having a little fun there. Tommy Lentine's wife was laughing. And there's a swing and a base hit. So Rees Mize throws it in. Tom Lentine Sr. scores on the double. Paulie goes to third, and March has cracked that 10 mark. Question now is if you got him in the 13-run pool. And it brings up Ziggy, and this has been a total top to bottom of the lineup team effort here as everybody's pitched in for March. And Rees goes hard. Going back is Caballero. He makes the catch. Rees chugging into third. It's 11-0. Meatball City's a pretty good softball team, so the fact that March is winning, is nothing to be surprised about, but the score sure is. And here's the top of the lineup with Morris Greco. He's got a triple and a double in the ball game already. And there's a little chopper. Doss looks him back. That's a nice play. Rees looked like he was jockeying. I think had John Doss not peeked back over his shoulder, he might have given it a shot. Top of the lineup, Tommy Lentine Jr., 3 hits in the ball game already. So the midsummer should be very interesting, because this ballpark, as you all know who follow the streams, there are a lot of days where it's a little windy out here, especially during the day, like saying right at Doss, he makes that play, but they push a pair across, they go to 11, do or die, bottom of the fifth for Meatball. They need 2 to extend the game. So this park is very odd depending on the wind. And most days here in the summer, we're on field 2. The wind is howling out on this diamond, and a lot of runs get scored. And then on diamond 1, scores are a little closer. And on occasion, it just depends on the weather. Sometimes it's blowing in here and out there, but the outfields are huge here. You got 2 games playing basically into each other, but you very rarely see any conflicts between the center fielders here. So here's Jose Godinez. And Jose hits a fly ball. Coming in is Detzmer, out number 1. Now what normally happens, because we play double headers out here, so Meatball will have another game, so will March. And what we've seen happen the one day out here with and there's a hard ground ball and it sneaks through. So with 1 out, John Doss finds his way on base. Signature came out here and the wind was blowing in on this diamond, and they put up like 12 or 13 runs, and then they went to the field with the wind blowing out down on the other end, and they lost the game 4-2. And that's the great thing about softball. And Filomeno goes big. Detzmer drifts back, and he makes the catch. No tag. That's out number 2. So Meatball City down to their last out in this one. Now the tendency, if you're a hitter here, is you might try to do too much. You might try to say, I got to hit a 2-run homer. When in reality, what you want to do is get yourself on base and just start stringing singles together. Kerrigan, wicked ground ball. It does sneak through. So Meatball City's still alive here. Looks like we got a pinch hitter. Josh Lubin is going to take a swing here. Now there are 2 outs. You got Harrigan over here. He would extend the game should he score. You got Joe Carbs at third as the coach. And we'll see if Carbs with 2 outs might want to take a chance. If there's a possibility Harrigan could score on a long stretch single or not. So 2 strikes. Looks like Eric Coppersmith has grabbed the bat, and he's going to get a swing. So sometimes as a manager, when you sit a guy in the first game of a doubleheader, you're thinking later in the game you'll give him a swing, and now here we are in the 5th, and I think they just want to make sure. So full count. Now Harrigan will be running. If Lubin can get a stretch single, he'll have a good chance to score. And there he goes. Little flip the other way. Morris Greco is there, and March. This might be the first time we've had him on the live stream. Very impressive. We wanted to show you somebody different tonight, and that's why we decided to show this game. So all business, they led start to finish. They shut out a pretty good Meatball City team. and I'm sure they'll regroup and they'll come out and play a better ball game. So we're going to wrap it up. Hope you enjoyed the broadcast. We got a lot of softball coming up this week and in the coming weekends. Basically, the next 3 weekends, we're going to be live somewhere. So make sure you follow the page. Tell your friends. On behalf of Gold Rush Gaming, Sweet Buzz, our Chicago Summer Series anchor partner, this is Gio live from Melrose Park saying good evening.